Missouri's Attorney General Andrew Bailey just hit China where it hurts. Not only did he call out their lies during the coup, not only did he show how they're threatening our national security, but he's actually going to do something about it. So you guys remember those secret Chinese police stations that they had all over the country?
Tonight, the FBI accusing the Chinese government of secretly operating a police station out of this unassuming building in the heart of New York City. The first ever case of its kind.
This case is a further example of the audacious activities that the government of China has carried out right here on American soil.
The FBI arresting these two men in New York City today, Lu Jiang Wang and Chen Jingping, accusing them of working under the direction of China's Ministry of Public Security. Their office near Chinatown claimed to be a non-profit organization providing assistance to local residents of Chinese descent, including to help them get driver's licenses. But the FBI says the station was a hub of Chinese counterintelligence operations in New York City, used to harass and intimidate dissidents who dared to defy China.
I mean, this was no joke, man. They're enforcing Chinese law on US soil. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, share the video with everyone you know. People gotta know about this, man. I appreciate you getting the word out.
Officials say Lu allegedly tracked down and terrorized a pro-democracy activist living in California.
If that secret police station was in New York, how could they possibly bother someone in California? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because they actually had bases all over the country, including one in California. They had a secret police station in Omaha, Nebraska. Who the hell needs them in Omaha, Nebraska? So it looks like they had two police stations in New York. They had one in Minnesota, Nebraska, Texas, and two in California. Keep this map in mind because this ties into another map we're going to look at later. All right, so with that in mind, 4 years ago, Attorney General Andrew Bailey of Missouri sues China for their involvement in the coup.
Missouri has become the first state to sue the Chinese government for allegedly concealing information about the spread of the
coup. Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt has announced that he has filed a lawsuit against China for lying to the world and causing devastating loss of life and economic suffering. And everybody thought this was a PR stunt. I mean, nobody, including me, thought that Missouri would be able to collect on this.
So realistically, Isaac, how likely is it that damages will be awarded to Missouri as a result of this lawsuit?
I think you never want to say zero for something like this. It's incredibly unlikely. It's incredibly unlikely that they'll be able to get Beijing to pay.
Now, here's the crazy part. You heard what he said, right? It's incredibly unlikely that they'd be able to get Beijing to pay. But what if it wasn't? And what if you could take out two birds with one stone? See, Missouri didn't just win. They got a $24 billion default judgment against China because China couldn't even be bothered to send an ambassador to show up. So I get what you're thinking right now. What does the number matter if you can't even get China to pay? What is the relevance? Because they're never going to get Missouri that money anyway, right? Well, I guess that's what China is thinking too. And so they're just ignoring this until Andrew Bailey just came out with this tweet exposing China for the national security threat they are right now to this country. This is all he had to say to get people's imaginations activated. Hey, China, you owe Missouri $24 billion. I just want a judgment in court. Pay up, or we'd start seizing assets and farmland. And so everybody's like, farmland? Oh my God, he's right.
All right, so now a question for the House. Why are we letting China buy up our farmland? Joining us now is Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville. Senator Tuberville, you're pushing hard. I mean, the Chinese have this habit, and I'm sure you know about this. They have this odd habit of buying farmland near our military bases. I'm sure that's just a coincidence, sir.
Sure it is, Larry. It's a big coincidence.
Welcome back. Well, the Chinese Communist Party infiltrating America's military installations. Today, the New York Post is identifying 19 U.S. military bases across the country where Chinese entities have acquired farmland nearby. They include some of America's most strategically important military bases.
All right, you guys remember that map from earlier, right? Because there is an interesting correlation between that map and the one I'm about to show you. All right, here's a map of all the land China owns in the US, and there is an interesting correlation here because if we switch over to the police station map, a lot of them seem in perfect distance to manage the properties they own. And then those properties, pushing right up against military installations. Isn't that wild? You've got your 2 California police stations right here. You've got the properties right next to them that are being managed that China owns. And then you've got military bases all right next to each other. Isn't that strategically convenient? And we were wondering why China has that random police station in the middle of Nebraska. Right in the middle of Omaha, Nebraska. Well, it's because in Nebraska, that's right next to a whole cluster of properties that they own. And then they got that police station right in Texas, right? What's right around that in Texas? Oh my gosh, is that in the middle of a triangle of properties that they own in Texas, right next to 2 bases?
The New York Post writes this: under the guise of farming, Chinese landowners could set up reconnaissance sites, install tracking technology, use radar and infrared scanning to view bases or attempt to fly drones over them as ways to surveil military sites.
You want to know the really sad part? It's already happening.
A Chinese national living in Brentwood was arrested at San Francisco International Airport, accused of flying a drone over Vandenberg Space Force Base. The 39-year-old man, identified as Yin Piao Zhou, was apprehended before boarding a flight to China. Base security detected the drone on November 30th, flying at high altitude for nearly an hour. Investigators found aerial photographs of the base on the drone.
So a Chinese national enters our country, is hid just long enough to fly a drone over a military base and take pictures, and then books a flight back to China. And we don't grab them until they're about to get on that plane back to China, and we're supposed to pretend like this is not espionage. And this is all while illegal immigration by Chinese nationals is up 375%. Not to mention, we just caught 2 U.S. Army soldiers of Chinese descent selling our secrets back to China in the middle of all of this. According to a DOJ press release, Jian Zhao and Li Tian, active duty U.S. Army soldiers stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord, along with Ryu Duan, a former U.S. Army soldier, were arrested today following indictments by federal grand juries in the District of Oregon and the Western District of Washington. Tian and Duan were charged in the District of Oregon for conspiring to commit bribery and theft of government property. Zhao was charged in the Western District of Washington for conspiring to obtain and transmit national defense information to an individual not authorized to receive it, and also for bribery and theft of government property. Guys, this is Cold War espionage level stuff. According to iGlobalNews.org, back in 2019, a comprehensive report issued by the U.S. Department of Agriculture underscored a startling fact. China owned a significant amount of U.S. agricultural land, spanning a vast 192,000 acres with an estimated value exceeding $1.9 billion. China's agricultural land ownership in the U.S. as well as other countries has surged tenfold since 2009. China's got $1.9 billion worth of farmland, some next to bases we can't leave exposed. Bailey's over here ready to patch the vulnerability by seizing every acre he can. Do you guys think this is gonna work? Can we use this to lock down our security vulnerabilities in this potential new Cold War that we find ourselves in? You guys rock. I'll see you on the next one.